Okay, this is Robert Broom with Mountain Eagle here with Amy Masters and Ted Sheridan, and this is the AMR Open Studios week tour. So this is not your first year. How many years have you been doing this?
I think this is our 5th year doing it, and 1 year was skipped because of COVID.
And then I think we took off a year. I think maybe we were traveling or something.
Yeah.
But we've pretty much done it every year except that one break.
So how was that experience? I mean,
I love it. It's exhausting. I'm always totally exhausted by the end of it. And every year as we're cleaning the studio, I'm like, why are we doing this? But it's super fun. I love seeing old friends. I love meeting people. I think it's a great thing that we do up here.
Yeah, and our experience has been every year it's gotten better. The first year that we did it, we had maybe 20 people. Second year, double that. And then every year it increases. So I think it's really people in the community are becoming more aware of it, and it's grown in size. There are more artists this year than previous years. Yeah, and it's great. It's nice to open your house up and your studio to your neighbors and people in the area, and that's why we do it.
It's an excuse to clean.
Yeah.
Because the studio is never this clean. I'll just say that.
I think an example of the progression was last night. I mean,
that
Rebecca,
was pretty wild.
the organizer,
Yeah.
walked outside and she was just astonished by how many cars were up and down Main Street.
Yep.
Yeah, the turnout was great. That's a good sign for it this year. And my sense is it's been going on long enough that people know about it now and kind of expect it and anticipate it. So it's a great chance to show your space and your work to people in the area.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember one of the very first years, the kickoff was like at somebody's house, and there was maybe like 15 people there.
Yeah,
we all showed a piece of work. It was like show and tell. And now there's this huge party, where people from all over came, and it was wonderful.
Yeah. So, can you take turns talking about your art?
Okay, you go first, honey.
Sure. Well, I'm an architect and artist, and what I do is I do a kind of print making, but I use metal powders and paper and water to create rust and corrosion on the paper. Sometimes I mix this with other media, watercolor, gouache, even just workaday stuff like house paint.
Coffee grinds.
Coffee, tea, leftover stuff. And the goal with the pieces is to have a kind of rough idea of composition and then let the process kind of take it from there. So there's a lot of unexpected things that happen. I get all kinds of mixing of the materials because it's a liquid process. It's a very slow process. So I could kind of watch the pieces develop almost like a photograph over time. And I never know exactly what I'm going to get, which is part of the fun. So it's kind of a break from like architectural drawing, which is like so precise and organized that it's just every line is really intentional, whereas this process breaks through and makes it a little more random and a little more unpredictable as to what's going to happen. So that's the long and short of it.
I don't even know what to say about my work. I guess I tend to kind of get onto an idea or a theme or an image, and then I just keep going with it until I can't do anymore. And so for many years I was just painting like that house, the iconic house shape, and I was abstracting it, and I was coming up close and then pulling away, and then I started to put things in front of it and behind it, and now I've moved inside of the house. And so the work this past couple of years has really been inside the house, but you are looking out. So there is a sense of inside and outside, and it's still kind of confined to the home and shelter and safety, but there's beginning to be sort of this weird interior narrative, and I'm not sure where it's going to go yet, but that's where I am now, and so I'm just pushing it to see where this takes me. And I'm not bored of it yet, so I feel like I'll be with this for a while. You know, the house paintings I did for, I don't know, 3-4 years. So this is new. I'm just starting this work. I paint in oils. I do some printmaking. I haven't done printmaking for a couple of years. I'm not sure why. I just not doing that now. But I'm primarily an oil painter, and I don't know what else to say about it. I love it. I love painting. I love color.
The one behind you has New York City.
Which one?
The city, the one directly behind you.
This one.
Nope.
This one. Not finished. I'm working on that.
Yeah, so it has the city.
Yes.
So you guys were from New York City originally.
We go back. I'm mostly up here. Ted goes back and forth, but we have an apartment in the city, and I love the city. It's very much a part of me. So I like that I get to bring that up here, and I'm playing with like the natural elements and flora, but also it's located in a city. Yeah. Interior, so that's kind of fun to have both of those things coexist. In a lot of them, not all of them.
So I'm curious about curating. I don't think a lot of people really ask curators about their experience. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. You and I were talking about this earlier. You know, curating for me is really an exercise in like a visual. It's a visual exercise where I just love to see certain things beside one another. And you know, I was very fortunate to be given that opportunity to curate at the 1053 gallery, and for me it was kind of seeing what an artist was doing and knowing that I wanted to put certain works together. And I can see that in my mind's eye, and it's very, very exciting and really fun for me. And I didn't know how fun that was going to be until I was afforded that opportunity. And so I come at it as an artist first and foremost. I like working with artists. I understand them, because I am one, so it's different than it being more like a business, you know. I think that happens too, that some curators want to put up what's going to sell, whereas I feel like I see it as like what's going to come together as a whole, and as a whole experience, and have a narrative, or just an experience, you know, when you walk into a space, what is that thing that you're going to react to and relate to, or have a connection, an emotional connection to.
Did you have a favorite exhibition that you recall from that experience?
Oh, don't ask me to say that. That's like, who's your favorite child?
They were all
very different,
yeah.
You know. I think one of the more interesting shows we had there was my dear friend Dan Hurlin, he's a theater person, he's a puppeteer, and we did an installation that he created just for the gallery, and that was wildly fun. And I got pulled into his world, and he's just a fascinating guy and so talented and creative, and he's a dear friend from college, and so this was the first time we got to do some work together since we were in college together a gazillion years ago. So that was a real highlight for me, doing his show. and there was a sound piece, and he works with amazing musicians, and it was very, very fun. And he's like hysterically funny person, so I got to laugh a lot. That was really nice. But all the artwork was very different. I feel like each show had its own kind of flavor.
Yeah.
You know.
So that architecture, I believe, to a great degree, calls on your artistic ability. So, can you talk a little bit about that? And
yeah, I mean, I think architecture it's about composing spaces, and you have a kind of limited palette of materials. So one of the nice things about architecture is it's a chance to assemble materials in a different way, and because buildings persist and they're around a long time, you get to see how they age and change over time. And some of that is what kind of guided me into some of the flat printmaking work that I do, is thinking about how projects I had done, initially when they were finished, they're almost like a present coming out of a box, shiny, new, perfect, all that. But after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, they begin to have a kind of life of their own. And some of that is like weathering and corrosion and rot and staining and all these things that, generally people see those as negatives, but I kind of like the way the forms and the surfaces transform over time. So that aspect of architecture kind of led me to what I do, artistically. There's just so many. There are so many possibilities with architecture, and also so many constraints at the same time. So the trick with it is make the most of what you have in terms of your materials and your budget and your space, and just try to get something interesting, good light, like surprising spaces out of what you do. That's the way to keep it interesting and keep people engaged in it.
yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, thanks for the interview, and
Yeah.
I hope people go around and see a lot of these great artists this weekend. It's going to be a really great event.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you. Thanks for
Bye.
coming by.